life is far deeper than having surface entertainment, which is what we've moved into, a culture that is absolutely obsessed with surface entertainment. That's why nobody can actually pay attention for more than 3 seconds. Next. Oh, that's good. You look at a Rembrandt for 2 seconds on a cell phone and you think you've seen a Rembrandt and know a Rembrandt. You haven't known a Rembrandt until you've actually stood in front of a Rembrandt for an hour and stared at it. And that's what's going on in this AI picture, this AI painting. Where is the real emotional contact in that? I mean, Wonderbread is not bread.
Listening to Social, you think the only thing happening was Scarlett Johansson versus OpenAI, and even that voice was really Wonderbread. And in this episode 45, we talk about Scarlett versus OpenAI because it is Wonderbread that's the problem, and the artist left out in the cold. While the soap opera over the Her voice, Wonderbread AI art leaves professional artists out like musicians on Spotify. Geoffrey Laurence speaks out on AI taking the emotion and psychic energy out of art and starts with how he found out when a friend said, I just looked up your style and I found something that you might not really like.
He asked the machine, make a painting in the style of Geoffrey Laurence. And what did the AI do? It scanned the internet for all of the images of mine that are on there. And I just picked one that's sort of similar. Okay?
Yep.
But there are huge differences between the two. Huge. Yes, on first glance, you could think, oh, yeah, that's a Geoffrey Laurence. But I would never do that in the background. I would never make a background like that. And then when I started looking at it, I started realizing, well, the subtlety isn't there. What's it done? It's analyzed my light forms. But if you look at the left-hand side above his ear, what is that? I would never do that. If you look at, it's supposed to be reflected light. Yeah?
Yeah.
Look at, for instance, on my painting on the right, look at the reflected light in the cheek and just below the ear. Do you see the difference between that and what the machine has done on the left side of his face?
Definitely.
How crude that is. Then, I started looking at the anatomy and started thinking, well, what is this under his chin, this bulge here? Just under his chin. It looks like he's got a goiter.
Which is
instead of
a thyroid, because it's just assembling different things into, like, it could have definitely pulled something similar. Sorry.
It's not, well, it's just not, a machine is not reading a human. It's responding to what it thinks it has gathered from a whole bunch of different images. And it's making mistakes. And not only that, but the harshness of the image. I mean, do you see how soft my painting on the right is and how much emotion is coming out of that man? The painting is called There. And, there's an imaginary hand stroking his head. And his hand is reaching for it. This assurance, because I've always tried to paint about my emotional responses to the world around me. And how, I don't know really what an artist is supposed to do anymore. There's been such a flood of amateur, untrained imagery, a tsunami of stuff on Instagram and Facebook and online, and a million people who think that because they go to the art store and buy a tube of paint and a brush, they're an artist. Well, the artists are made They aren't made. They're born. I really believe that. It's an absolute fantasy to think that artists, you just become an artist because you go buy a brush. I've spent 56 years trying to learn how to paint, and I still don't know how to make a painting. And how to make a painting that actually has substance and meaning. But what I find myself in now is a world that is purely engaged in surface. I've always tried to understand the world underneath everything, because that's really what's going on. I mean, you know, we live on the surface, and unfortunately, I think that the culture that we live in is also absolutely obsessed with surface now, surface reality. But that isn't reality.
No, it's a game.
It's a game, and you know when you're on your own somewhere, and you look up at the moon, and you realize we're on a planet spinning at thousands of miles an hour in a universe that's absolutely immense. You get a glimpse of the stuff underneath in yourself. You get a glimpse of that feeling that relates to what's underneath all this crap. The life is far deeper than having surface entertainment, which is what we've moved into, a culture that is absolutely obsessed with surface entertainment. That's why nobody can actually pay attention for more than 3 seconds. You know, next. Oh, that's good. You look at a Rembrandt for 2 seconds on a cell phone and you think you've seen a Rembrandt and know a Rembrandt. You haven't known a Rembrandt until you've actually stood in front of a Rembrandt for an hour and stared at it. And that's what's going on in this AI picture, this AI painting. Where is the real emotional contact in that? I mean, Wonderbread is not bread. And what I find is so interesting about AI imagery is that they're really aggressive on the viewer. There's no entrance into a softer world with AI imagery. It's harsh. It's overly described. There's a difference between realism and photorealism, and relying on the camera in some form or other digitally. I mean, what does a digital camera do? It scans. It's a scanner, and it scans the light coming through the lens, analyzes it, and then forms it into pixels. But that's not what your eye sees. It's about artists actually trying to penetrate the stuff that we are. And I don't think that AI is going to help that at all. I think it's only going to deal with the surface of everything. What is going on is that you are experiencing the outside world, analyzing it, and changing it. That's not what machines do. Machines can only reflect what they gather. That's why I don't like AI, because it's not truth. It's not human vision. A machine can only analyze the surface. It can't analyze. If I have a model, I've always painted from models. I've always believed in painting from life, not from photographs, because a camera is not human vision. The camera only gives you that scan. So I've spent hundreds and hundreds of dollars on models for paintings, because I know that when I have a human in the room, something else takes place, an exchange. I don't make the work. I and the model make the work. because she's or he is exchanging his energy, and that's affecting me. And my energy is going into them, and that's affecting them. And somehow I'm trying to take that energy and translate it into paint on a canvas. That's not what a machine does. The truth of the stuff only comes when you actually stand in front of the painting. If you see my work on a cell phone, you're not seeing it. You're seeing a digital interpretation of it. I mean, how many times people had photographs taken of themselves and said, oh, well, I don't look like that.
So what do you think are the broader implications of AI-generated art on the perception and value of what's actually traditional art form now versus whatever we're heading into?
Disastrous. Every 10-year-old is going to get AI on Photoshop and then say they're an artist. I mean, it's about the brain needing to put effort in. You see, I go back to that same thing, this idea that you take effort out of everything. You make it easy. Well, easy actually destroys originality.
What's even like harder for me is that the originality of that 10-year-old. In other words, what we all need is a vision, you, person, artist, your original work, whatever. As the writer's strike in Hollywood last fall, this woman had a really funny sign. She goes, ChatGPT doesn't have childhood trauma. But that's the point. Like, it doesn't have that rich experience. And that is one of the harshest things is we might never not encourage that 10-year-old to seek their original voice, to go beyond typing in a couple of prompts and getting a gold star for something that looks, it's a collage, but it's, what's funny is what we're gonna miss, that 10-year-old's originality is not gonna add to our texture of society.
I can only talk about what I experienced with students that I taught lately, not that long ago. And I received blankness. I didn't receive a thirst for knowing. I received blankness, which frightened me. So that's why I'm so against this constant pushing of electronic supposed advance, supposed progress. That's why I said to you right at the beginning, novelty is not progress.
Yeah.
But because of that, we all carry this huge insecurity against change, because it means that we have no control. And so this desperate need to control constantly.
Or the illusion of control and choice.
The
right?
illusion of control. Absolutely.
AI-generated art is missing, in your comment you made to me, the essential psychic element present in your work. Can you describe why that element, what this element is, or why it is, and why it is crucial to your art?
Well, first of all, it's an extremely difficult thing to be definitive about. I mean, I can't be definitive about it. I'm aware of it. It's like very often quoted by various swamis that there is an underlying force that we're all aware of. We can't see it, but we know it's there.
Right.
And it's there all the time. And that's what I mean about psychic energy. We know that energy is there. And for some people who live completely bland lives with interrupted attention constantly, there are still going to be moments when those things break through.
Yeah.
They're going to look across the room at the person that they call their partner or wife or whatever and think, what is this? What is this? Just for a moment. That's the stuff. That's the energy that we, you see, I think that one of the great tragedies of humans has been that their fear of other has excluded the acceptance that we're all in this together, all of us. We all make this world. We all do together.
Totally.
That the collective energy
Right.
makes the world, no matter what. So when I was a kid, I must have been, God, when was it? Must have been 1950. Lascaux was still, it was still possible for people to go into Lascaux. My father wanted to see the cave paintings because he knew about them because he had lived in France. I remember what those paintings felt like. And it was extremely powerful. It still is. When I see the paintings on the caves in France or in Spain or wherever, and I realize that we haven't progressed very much as far as artists. Some of those drawings are way better than most people can draw today. But I remember the feeling of them. I remember the energy of them. And there've been many explanations about why people drew them and different scientists who've never drawn a thing in their life talking about them. And I know that they were grappling with this stuff just like we are now. What is this?
Why am I here?
Why am I here?
What am I doing?
But what is this? I am here.
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
I'm here. But what is it? And I think that that's the journey of art. I think that exploration of that psychic energy has always been the journey of until today's obsession with surface, obsession only with surface. And that's why I feel so. It's why I experience so much grief now, because I think that everybody is looking in the wrong direction. I really do.